Good afternoon, everyone. It's 3 minutes to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when we said we would start our webinar. So just doing a quick sound check for those of you who are logged in on the computer. Just sit tight. We will get started promptly on time. And if you could do me a favor, if you're already logged in, you can use the Q&A just to let me know that you can hear me okay. That would be much appreciated. We'll get started in just about 2-3 minutes. Thanks for joining us. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on the National Honor Societies. My name is Nara Lee, and I am the director at NASSP's, in NASSP Student Programs Division. And I'm also joined here today by my colleague, Kathy Greenway, who is our director of membership. Kathy, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
So thank you again for joining us for today's webinar. I wanted to let you know that we are recording the session today, so it'll be available for easy access and viewing later. The presentation deck that we're going to go through is also available for download. Simply click on the download button that should be next to the presentation for those of you who are logged in to the webcast via computer, and you should be able to access the document. We're going to run through a little bit of an introduction about our National Honor Societies. We're guessing that's why you're joining us here today, to learn a little bit more about our program. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about our recognition program, sharing about the resources that we provide to our school leaders, and then we'll close with the time of live Q&A with Kathy, who is really the brains behind our membership and can tell you more about the resources and some information about how you could follow up with us here at our offices. The Q&A is a really easy feature. Hopefully some of you have already figured out, so this is really great. And I already see some questions, so that's really helpful for Kathy and me to see as we're going through the brief introduction. Feel free to type in a question at any time as you think of it, and we promise to get to as many of the questions, if not all, during the time that we are on live with you. So a little bit of a background, as you see with our logos, the National Honor Societies is a part of our Student Leadership Division, which is run by NASSP, the National Association of Secondary School Principals, our national office is located in Reston, Virginia, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. And we really believe in working towards building great leaders in every school committed to the success of each student. So our division in particular administers student programs and celebrates student leadership in different ways. The National Honor Societies are the largest premier organization in the United States, actually the world, that recognizes high-achieving students in K through 12. And students have the honor of being selected by their local school leaders, teachers, and faculty within their own school, which really sets it apart as a special recognition program. And the other thing that makes it a special recognition and honor is that students are selected as students of great promise based on a holistic selection process. The National Honor Society and National Junior Honor Society are recognition programs that provide young adults in high school and middle school to be lifted up as student role models and leaders in their school setting and receive national level recognition for their commitment to academic and service excellence. We're actually going to be celebrating the centennial of National Honor Society in particular. In 1921, Dr. Edward Rynearson, principal of the Fifth Avenue High School in Pittsburgh, was responsible for beginning the original Alpha chapter. Is that the right way to refer to it, Kathy? Yeah, the Alpha chapter of NHS at the Fifth Avenue School. By 1930, there were 1,000 chapters of NHS, and today we celebrate having nearly 35,000 chapters of National Junior Honor Society and National Honor Society all over the world. The purpose of our National Honor Societies is really to celebrate and elevate students. A lot of people ask us, what does NHS do? And obviously for those of us who might have been in NHS, I was an NHS kid, I was a former NJHS kid too, but even for people who have not been a part of either of the societies, sort of know the program because of this national level recognition as a body of students who are usually academically very motivated but do a lot of service. And while that is absolutely correct, what the other thing that I would say is that National Honor Society and National Junior Honor Society students really are students that are student leaders. These are not students who are just performing at a high level, but they're really leaders in the school. And I've actually been working in education for a while and worked with different populations of students. And the one thing that I learned early on and still remains true after all these years is that we do not do enough in this country to truly celebrate students, and really all students, and not just NHS students. It's because we are at the Principals Association where we celebrate and support and work with school leaders all the time. That is the one common refrain we hear from principals and assistant principals is there's such great work being done by school leaders too, but certainly students in all of America's schools, and we just kind of tend to focus on sort of the negative and all the things that fall short. And really, there are not a lot of awards and recognitions for students, especially high-achieving students. So we believe at NASSP that lifting up students is a huge part of improving school culture and also building it, raising the bar for excellence, and investing in future leaders. So for me, it was a huge privilege to be invited to join the program here, not only because I was a former student, but because I know what it really means for a lot of students to be a part of the recognition and the society. What makes the honor societies unique is the high-touch selection process that is in the hands of the local school or chapter. Students are not simply selected for NHS or NJHS because they have high grades. That is an important part, but that's just one part of it. We set a national standard of 3.5 on a 4.0 scale for academic qualification, but the rest of the eligibility and selection rest on other values-based pillars. For National Honor Society, which is the high school program, the pillars are scholarship, service, leadership, and character. For the National Junior Honor Society program, which is middle level, we add an additional pillar of citizenship to really encourage students to be civically engaged and minded from a younger age. And we, of course, believe that NHS and NJHS membership for students is truly an honor, but that is what sets it apart, as I mentioned earlier, is that selection happens at the local level and by the faculty and teachers that are at the school. Beyond being named members of NHS and NJHS, students are also called to be ongoing leaders who embody the pillars. So throughout their time in middle and or high school, students are called to create and participate in meaningful service as ongoing members of the society, and service that engages not only their chapter, but really their entire school and communities. The student in this image that you're seeing is Gavin from Clear Creek, Colorado. He actually won the NHS Scholarship, a national recognition that is provided by our office and funded by our office under the support of NASSP. And Gavin was a student who aspired to go to college, and though he and his own family had incredibly modest means, he was celebrated in his small rural town as an NHS officer who wanted to give back to the community. He actually started the first Colorado high school chapter of She's the First, a nonprofit that provides scholarships to girls in low-income countries. And witnessing his own father's battle with health issues, he really committed himself to a life of service early on in his high school career that is just really mature beyond anything I really ever was at his age. And really, has in my interactions with him, I've been blessed to get to know him, really continues to advocate for low-income individuals in this country and around the world, and has career aspirations to becoming, I think, a surgical nurse. I saw him when I visited him at NYU. He's in his sophomore year. And really, it's, students like Gavin and thousands, hundreds of thousands of other Gavins around the world that really make up the Honor Society. And again, the opportunity to really lift up these students, but create a community for them to work together to create meaningful change is a really powerful thing. And there are plenty of students who are equally as passionate as Gavin, and they may not have been recognized, or they might not have an NHS pin or something like that, but we just know that these students are out there, and an NHS membership or a NJHS a club organization is just one simple way of gathering our most brightest and talented students and telling them that they're doing a really great job. So getting into some of the concrete things, we actually already have a question here about if I wanted to start up a chapter, do I have to write up all the chapter bylaws and documents from scratch? And Susan sent that question in earlier on, so thank you for sending that in. So no, you don't. One of the great things about our national office is we have a staff that's dedicated to supporting all of our schools and chapters. Part of it is done through Kathy's department and Kathy's work as she interfaces with the school, but we also have a customer care team and our program staff that's here for supporting principals and advisors. So that support comes in various forms that I'll highlight in a bit, but what we provide to activated chapters of honor societies is the NHS NJHS Constitution, which really serves as a roadmap and the North Star of what NHS really is, or NJHS really is, and the handbooks for advisors so that they have all the material they need to really guide and facilitate a chapter. We provide sample bylaws. Every school is required to create a set of bylaws and adopt them and set standards for selection, but we also provide templates for letters and things like that. We do also curate leadership development opportunities for students and provide so many resources and tools. I just really couldn't fit them on a slide, but we'll try to give a quick overview of some of the things that we do. The most important for all advisors is that is the Advisor Resource Center. This is an online resource center that we provide a login for all the advisors who are working with a school's chapter. As you can see, we have sections devoted to how to do everything from select members, going through the induction process, ideas and resources for project planning and fundraising. The Advisor Resource Center is also where all the sample bylaws and templates that I mentioned earlier, including calendars, are housed, including already written up language for inviting students to submit candidate forms and communications for students and parents. And we're constantly adding to this. Things like webinar presentations are also uploaded here, and PowerPoint decks. I'm going to do a quick check just to see if any urgent questions are. Oh, there's some issues with sound. I am going to write a quick note back and see if the folks who said they couldn't hear can hear. I would also recommend you could also log back out. I guess if you can't hear me, then if the sound is a little bit coming in and out, it might be your audio as well. So making sure your phone line is connected, or the volume on your computer is up. Let me see if this person can hear us. Okay, we see other questions too coming in, so this is great. And thanks for that confirmation, Carrie, that you can hear. Another resource that we provide for advisors is the Advisor Online Community. So in addition to all the content that we provide and the guidance for administering and facilitating a chapter, the online community is a safe space where advisors from all over the country and around the world can go to ask questions about working with student leaders and getting advice. We really like the AOC, as we call it, because there's really no shame in asking questions like, how do I get started, or how do you run student elections, or I need a particular resource, even tackling a sort of particularly difficult or sensitive issue in working with students and parents and administrators. In addition to the monthly e-news blast that we provide, we send emails every month to all the advisors in our network. We also publish a magazine for advisors called Advise, appropriately, and it specifically features topics and professional development resources for our Honor Society advisors, as well as advisors in our sister organizations program, National Student Council. So something that we tell all new advisors is that in addition to having an advisor for every Honor Society chapter, obviously there's a principal or a figurehead, and the principal is the lead authority for every school as well as for the Honor Society chapter. So it's important that we obviously support advisors and students in schools in informing the principal about all of our activities. So this is the principal's brief is a monthly e-news letter that goes out summarizing important news and updates. In particular for NJHS, we started a new blog series that's featured in the Advisor Online community that's authored by an active NJHS advisor, and it specifically features blog content. It's called From the Middle, and the blog content focuses on middle-level issues because we know that that's sort of a special a challenge and opportunity to work with student leaders when they're in grades 6 through 9. I mentioned leadership development opportunities. We have in-person events in the form of things like our LEAD conferences. We also have something called State Summit. So this is a really great opportunity and way for our national office to engage in student leadership events and invite students from all over the world to come together to really energize their leadership and talk about building leadership skills and connecting with a diverse national body of students. We also have virtual experiences. So with 35,000 schools and being more globally connected than ever, we use webinars just like we're doing now to communicate with you all to really get really good content and information out to our student membership. One of our popular webinar series is focused on college planning and college readiness. So for our NHS students in particular, we tackle common topics of concern for college-bound students like financial aid, how to complete your FAFSA, craft a college list, to things like navigating college decisions and essay writing principles. One of our newer program enhancements for specifically targeted for our junior honor society students is our Future Ready modules, which are also all online. And what Future Ready is it embodies our concept that our belief that leadership, requires hard and soft skill development, and leadership, of course, will always be in demand. So we present on topics like goal setting and self-management, even fundraising to help younger leaders master important life and pre-professional skills to make the most of their talents. And this is also really helpful content we've heard for 10th graders and 11th graders as well. So I'm going to wrap up in a little bit, but for those of you who are not familiar with NASSP and what our Student Programs Division does, I mentioned we do have a sister organization, National Student Council, which I think some of your schools in the audience today already have. But we just, in addition to our Student Council and Honor Society programs, we really do celebrate student voice and leadership in a broader sense, and encouraging all schools across the country to really celebrate the power of having engaged students in school. So a plug for our National Student Leadership Week, which happens every April. We're going to be launching a press release about that in February. And then we have a Student Leadership Advisory Committee, which is a national body of students that gives us advice and really serves to represent national student voice. And together with that committee in particular, we engage in something called the Global Citizenship Initiative. And it's this really simple idea that students can really change the world together as long as they believe that they have agency and power. So that the way that we really approach our recognition programs like Honor Society and even student engagement and voice programs like Student Council really embodies this, bigger concept for us that student voice really matters in building culture and improving our schools. So before I turn it over to Kathy and answer some questions, just wanted to put this up on the screen. If you're interested in starting a chapter or finding out some of the steps that are needed, that is the website that you can go to get more information. And Kathy is really our membership expert, and we're putting her email up there if anyone wants to reach out, or maybe there's a question that you ask and you want to talk a little bit more about it. Kathy actually has been here at NASSP for a lot longer than I have. I actually only joined as director a year ago. I'm not trying to outdate you. I'm just saying you have more experience with our student programs. I was wondering, I did a lot of talking, but Kathy, you've been here a while to see the program grow, and as we get closer to 100 years of NHS, what's your perspective on the Honor Societies?
First, I'll start off by commending Nara for all that she's accomplished in her 1 year here, in that Honor Society, high school and junior, both offer so much, and they're constantly enhancing the program. I have been enlightened just listening to Nara with some of the new features that have been added in. So it's important that you keep up to date and always check into the website and read the communications that we send to you. Nara had asked me early on, she said, what does Honor Society mean? Well, you read our promotion materials. We know it's a distinguished honor that students receive. But I will tell you, as an employee here and also in my personal life, when you tell somebody where you work, everybody will say, adults, and they'll say, oh, I was in the Honor Society, my so-and-so, my son is in it, I was in it, my brother was in it, and people keep their lapel pins. And so it is an honor that is well-deserved, and it's something that stays with you through life. We try to make the join-up process as easy as possible. Everything is on the website. We suggest that you go to start a chapter. Also, first of all, check to see if your school may have had a chapter years ago. You can always log in, and it will have information, and by putting in your school name or zip code, a state abbreviation, it can tell you, it will scroll through the list of schools, and you can check the status of your school. You can also use that as a resource to check other schools in your community. You might want to partner up with them on helping, they can help you to get established.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the nice things about our organization is, we serve school leaders. Of course, we're about student success as well, but we know that school leaders are pretty busy. So just give us a call if you're at all confused. Our number is on our website. Obviously, Kathy's information is there. There's a good question. So some folks might be taking over for a different person, or you might be wondering, I thought we had an honor society, but I just started at my school. How can I find out? Just let us know the name of your school. I think membership at nhs.us. No, a membership at nassp.org. I'll say that again slowly. Membership at nassp.org is an easy place, just because Kathy's online. Just reach out to us, and somebody in our outreach customer care division we're more than happy to look up your school. Actually, Kathy, there's another. So there's some international schools on here as well. We talk about accredited schools being allowed or eligible to start a chapter or reactivate a chapter. Can you tell us a little bit about how a school might, if they're not certain about their accreditation, or where they could find that?
Okay, you can go online, and again, it's under the Start a Chapter section, and go to accrediting organizations, and it will give you a list of all the current accrediting organizations that we work with. If you do have a question and you're not sure with the uniqueness of your school, call into our customer service office, and they know the right questions to ask you, and because of your certain circumstances, that they can best help you and tell you what you need to do to get the information, the supporting documentation to send in to us. In completing the chartering process, it's really 3 simple steps. And again, as I said, we try to make this as easy as possible for you. So number 1 is getting organized at the local level. You need to make sure that you have approval, the principal's approval, that you have read through the Constitution. And there's nothing in there that you see that will be cause an issue with your school. We ask them you have to set up a 5-member faculty, and identify an advisor. And then complete the application. Once you've submitted that to us, the fee is $385. That is an annual fee. And our membership year runs July 1 through June 30. As soon as we process your paperwork, you will receive an instant email back saying that everything has been processed, and it will give you your login information, and in that it confirms the information that you have supplied us for the advisor as well as for the principal. And then from that, we do the ordering, and within a couple of weeks, you will receive a certificate of affiliation and access to our handbook that's online as well.
So there's a question about what schools, what kinds of schools have honor societies and National Junior Honor Societies. If I'm reading the question right, I think it might be about our representation. Can you talk about a little bit about where our schools are?
If you talk about demographics, then we are really spread across the country, and as Nara had referenced, outside of the U.S. as well. So we're not in any particular niche. We do have urban, we have suburban, we're all over the place.
As far private schools, public schools, charter.
Exactly. Yeah. And then regarding the students, of course, that's a mixed student because it's representing the population of every community.
Great, thanks, Kathy. So somebody actually must have done their research and saw that we have an elementary honor society. So yes, that's actually technically falls under our division here, student programs. It is a part of our honor society family. We tend to talk a little bit more about the middle and high school programs because they're more well known. But can you talk a little bit about our baby programs?
Yes, which I love. As Nora knows, I love the elementary honor society program. It is the newest. And it's a younger version, so we don't expect as much in setting up the standards as you would at the high school level. It's the fastest growing division we have right now. It probably grows, I think the annual rate is about 12% a year. And the information, again, is on the website at NEH, so you can check that out. And if you have any particular questions about it, I think it's pretty much stated on the site. Oh, the fee for that those is a lot less. It's $85 a year. And again, as I say, it's a younger version. For an elementary honor society, if there's a junior high chapter in your community or a high school, again, that's a way to connect with a partnering chapter, and perhaps they can take you under their wing and help you get going. We have a lot of communities that have the high school, junior, and elementary, and they work together.
Great, thank you. Someone's asking, where do we look it up find out if our school may have had an NHS chapter in the past? We have something called Chapter Finder, which is really, I believe it was a call from, for some schools or communities that wanted to be able to locate, a chapter by looking up their city. So that's how some people find current active schools. But if you're at a school and you want to know that, I think I said membership, right? Is that an easy place we can direct folks who are on the webinar, just so that we can help track them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So email membership@nassp.org, because Kathy is really interested in connecting with those of you who are on the call, and we're happy to look that up for you, Ben. In fact, we could probably do it as soon as we hang up here, and we'll let you know who. And obviously with schools and account changes all the time, we deal with that all the time. So if a teacher becomes a new advisor, that's also a good question. We do require that there's at least one advisor for the chapter, but you can add additional co-advisors. Obviously for some schools that might have larger student populations, or just to have other adults help with the advising part, we welcome that. Just give us a call or email us, and we're happy to add more people as you have those changes happen.
So in doing an advisor, there should be then the primary advisor, but as a co-advisor, you can have as many co-advisors as you want as the school. And that's an excellent backup, too, for the primary advisor, so that if there is a change, that it helps with the continuity of the program.
So, yes, for Jorge, I think you're asking something similar. Now you're asking the question I was starting to answer, which was if you want to find out historical affiliation, you can, again, give us a call or email Kathy at membership, and we're happy to look into that for you. Of course, our records are, we can look into that to the best of our ability.
Right.
Some of it has to do with how we documented school affiliation. So we can certainly look up current affiliation. There's not a link. We don't post that because we do protect our general chapter information. We never release advisor names, things like that, but we can confirm confirm for you whether a school is currently active, and then look as far back as we can. So hopefully that helps you, Jorge. Just message us, either Kathy directly or membership at NASSP. There's a good question about students. Do students have to pay for any dues in order to join NHS or JHS? And then there's actually another good question about, I've heard about this National Society of Scholars. Are you guys related? I always get confused. So those are two very common questions, so I'll kind of answer them together. So there are no national dues for students to become members. We have relationships with school leaders, and that is really how we interface. We grant the charter, we approve the charter, and so long as the Constitution is being abided by and schools are maintaining their bylaws and abiding by them and have a fair and equitable process, then we are not involved in selection of students, nor do we collect any dues from individual students. So we do not accept payment. That said, this gets into a bit of detail. We do know that some schools reserve the right to charge a fee, more for administrative needs, especially if they want to buy, extra T-shirts for the students, or host a party, or have a startup fund for a chapter activity or a service project. That is something that we leave to each chapter to administer. We do not profit from student dues at all. Now, going to the point of there are other honor societies. We know, yes, I remember being in high school. I was actually a member of other societies as well, like what was it? I was in the Arts Honor Society actually. Then I was not very artistically inclined, but I had a very deep appreciation for art, and I took AP art.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
So yes, as I mentioned earlier, I love celebration of student excellent student talent and leadership, but we are not, we only administer the NHS program and the NJHS program, and of course EHS, which is the younger sibling of it. All those other programs that some folks are naming right now, we are not affiliated with them. We do have sister organizations, so we are actually neighbors with Future Business Leaders of America and other sort of membership kind of student honoring programs. I will say the big distinction between us and some other honor society programs is that it's the student dues component, and because our selection, as we outlined, is completely and wholly and holistically done at the local school and chapter level. So part of my job is to actually talk about honor society students and really be a cheerleader for all students and the integrity of the program with our higher ed partners. It's one of the reasons NHS is truly valued, because it is a selection and nomination that happens really all at the local school level, where the teachers and the faculty really know the students on the basis of non-quantitative measures. These are qualitative measures of scholarship, service, leadership, and character. There is no testing requirement, so there's, to be honest, there are many other recognitions. We know, NMSQT, our friends at College Board. There's a lot of great ways to give students awards based on testing and those kinds of merits, which are also very valuable. But because this is such a qualitative and subjective and holistic process that happens at the local school level, students cannot buy their membership or pay for a bumper sticker. They cannot be, this is not something you can just sign up for. That is a common misconception. We actually do get calls all the time from students. It's like, hey, I want to join the Honor Society. It sounds like a really great thing. And that we are really, that makes us feel really good, obviously, that students like what we stand for, but membership in the society is something that is bestowed upon them through an invitation and induction process, and students do have to remain in good standing too. So that's kind of, it's really rare for me, it was my first time really being a part of anything, because this is before I went to college and joined a sorority or was a part of anything else where sort of there was like that society element, right?
And it bothers me when I drive down the road and I see some of these, Nara had referenced the bumper stickers from another group, and that we, unlike them, we work through the school system. There is a process. There has to be a selection process that is condoned by the school leader. Some of these other groups, to let you know, they are strictly a mail order system, and they usually mail to the home of principal, to the parents, and then each student has to pay a fee, and they get that recognition and that wonderful bumper sticker. So there is a big difference between the programs.
Susan is asking a question about the role of the 5-member faculty. So a little bit more into the details. The advisor is really the head administrator and responsible for just facilitating chapter activities and helping document and really reporting to the principal. And the principal really is the lead authority. So really we cannot have a chapter of Honor Society without the approval and support of a principal. The 5-member faculty is not a static body of faculty that they can change every year, but every time you do selection, you must have 5 faculty members who sit on the selection committee. A common thing that a lot of new advisors don't realize is that they are not a member of that faculty, and it actually is for their protection and kind of to keep things very objective, and it's part of the program structure. So the advisor is really there for administering and passing on the details and reminding and helping get the bylaws and everything set up, but the 5-member faculty must be selected by the principal and asked and tasked with selecting student members. So based on the bylaws, and you'll see in the sample bylaws, we help everybody out by sort of putting together a template. Based on your criteria, you're going to have a set number of eligible students, mostly starting with that first pillar of scholarship and a minimum GPA requirement that you set. And then after that is really for you to come up with your own ways of assessing and reviewing the other qualities, which are service, leadership, and character. And the 5 faculty members must review all eligible candidates and then make your selection. Another common
establish the selection criteria.
Yeah, and then another common misconception is how many students can be in Honor Society or Junior Society at school, and we realize that a lot of people focus on numbers and concrete things, which I like too, but because the crux of the program is really about honoring students and not it being exclusive, and to avoid bias. There really is no quota that is allowed. That said, you can adjust your selection criteria depending on, what you want your school to stand for, and the context of your school. We have some rural schools where there's only 5 to 7 students in a graduating class, so for them it's really less a matter of numbers, but really, I use that illustration because it's not about numbers, it's about, what are the standards of excellence that you're setting for your students. It's more than an honor roll, it's about students who really embody those characteristics. And so if all 7 are inducted into NHS based on your standards, that's great. If only 1, that's great too. Every school is very different. Right. We also have virtual schools that obviously their student population is a little bit different in their makeup and demographic. So we hope that helps. That's actually another great thing about support. Obviously we have our business section and our customer care office that helps with invoices and looking up things and communications, but our program staff, in particular, we have policy program staff who really help all the advisors. If you send us your bylaws, we're happy to review them, give some guidance. You run into a problem, that's what we're here for at the national office. Kathy, I'm going to scroll through.
Okay,
I think we got through a lot of questions.
It does seem like there's a lot of questions. I think
Yvonne, I hope you're still online. So what are some ways that students are currently honored outside of being a part of the organization? You also asked, how does a member of the organization benefit students who, I think you mean, how does being a member benefit those who go on to college? What percentage of students go on to be entrepreneurs and philanthropists? Gosh, so we've been around since 1921, apparently. And so I can tell you, just like Kathy, every time I travel on a plane and I wear my NHS pin, I get a lot of people tell me that they were in NHS. But we don't have sort of hard stats on how many philanthropists or how many, but I think those are, you asked really great questions that I'm sure I will pass on to our research team. Anecdotally, we estimate that our student membership active student membership count, so students who are in high school and middle school in our programs, is anywhere between 600 to 800,000, so just a little under 1 million. And of course, that means alumni since 1921 for our signature program, which is NHS, is, gosh, in the several double-digit millions probably. So we do have that history and legacy that I was talking about earlier of honor. We meet people all the time. Through our NHS scholarship in particular, we've been able to locate a lot of our alumni. We know that U.S. presidents have been NHS members. We have celebrities who are in NHS. And I think that is something, a question that we'll be asking as we enter our next 100 years, is really what is the impact we're having on pro-socially minded and service-minded leaders as they go out into the workforce. So sorry I don't have concrete numbers, but thanks for the question. In terms of benefits to being in NHS, it's really, as I mentioned, for, philosophically for students, it's usually their first time for most students to be invited to an exclusive and competitive society where they have to sort of uphold standards and pillars for continued membership. Once they graduate high school, they're automatically alumni members. I think really setting themselves up to understand the value of membership in a society before they go to college. So I think it's really, really in high school and middle school for the Junior Honor Society programs, it's really building those aspirations and encouraging membership in a community that's beyond just what most students are used to. We actually had a really exciting announcement from one of the colleges in our local area, Washington College, which is a small liberal arts college, where they announced an automatic grant of $72,000 per year. $72,000 in merit aid for any. It's an automatic $72,000 for any NHS student who is admitted to attend their college. We know that other colleges, many colleges, especially the most selective ones and the state flagships, do give a lot of merit aid to students who have National Honor Society in their record as part of their extracurricular activities and honors and awards. So we're trying to find a way to sort of capture some of that as well. So that we talk a lot about that in our webinar series that I mentioned when we talk about college planning and readiness. So we're trying to engage our advisors school leaders and of course the student members when they're on the webinar and talking about this is how you should talk about NHS and this is how you highlight it, those are the things that are looked at as a financial aid office and admissions office is looking to dole out merit aid in particular, because they're going to be investing in those students who are really sure bets to come onto their campus and really get engaged right away, not only from an academic angle but also from a student leadership angle. So obviously for college, you know, it's a great thing to put that you are part of it, but we think it's much more than just something that you put on your resume. It's actually the meaningful experience of having been in a society and being used to student engagement at our early stage.
In many cases, it's the first step of leadership.
Yeah. Other questions? Okay, so we're going to go through, make sure we got through. We're at 3:42, so we'll stay on for a little bit more, but if you need to jump, you know, thank you so much for joining us. Again, you can download the PowerPoint deck, and please contact Kathy. I know she's dying to hear from you and tell you more if you need, and if you have a colleague who missed the webinar, they can, we'll be sharing out the recording for those of you who were online with us afterwards, and they're also welcome to reach out to our membership division.
I see somebody has asked, can they still start this school year? Yes, you can, and I will follow up with everybody after this, giving you some additional information. Again, our membership year runs July 1 through June 30, and the annual fee is $385.
Great. Could you repeat the annual fee is $385.
And there's a slide on the website. What is? Okay.
And then let me see. Just want to make sure. Another question from Susan about what month. So you can start your affiliation at anytime really. But
it's getting it organized at the school level. That will determine.
Right. So there's no cutoff. I think we did that. Yeah. That question. Hey, Kathy, is there anything else that you think we should mention while we're still on for the folks who are still on?
We're flipping through the rest of these questions. I think we have covered them all. Just to let you know that we want to make this easy for you, and we are here for you to reach out to us and ask any question. We don't want you getting frustrated at the local level. So we provide a lot of information. Just reach out to us. My email is on that last screen, and we can, respond back to you with an answer right away.
There's a question about pins and they've seen other materials like the banners. So we have something called the NHS or NJHS store, and we're providing other enhancements to the store, like sort of customization in the coming months. But those things can be purchased through the store, and we provide all that information to the schools. In addition.
That's all in addition to the membership fee. And there is materials there. There's packets of materials or packaged materials for your induction ceremony.
So I'm going to leave Kathy's email.
And you can also, I'll throw one other thing. You can also, some schools choose to honor somebody else as a special honoree. There is no fee for that, and we provide some certificates and materials for you to give recognition to these. Could be a special student at your school. It could be an advisor that has been outstanding, somebody in the community that has helped your chapter.
Yeah, it's really nice. We see pictures of induction ceremonies and things all the time.
Yes,
we love seeing them, and our social media team usually tries to capture some nice things too. So, well, at the 3:45 mark, we'll sort of slowly wind down and last call for questions. Again, please reach out to us. We're really grateful that you took the time during the school day, especially for many of you on the West Coast, to learn a little bit more about our programs. Thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you and talking with you soon.
Thank you.